Welcome to another episode of Dr. James Beckett Sports Card Insights. Thanks to our sponsors, Beckett Media, BGS, BAS, and all the different Beckett entities under Beckett.com. ComC, formerly known as Check Out My Cards. Burbank Sports Cards, 43 million cards for sale. Mike's Stadium Sports Cards, the place to be in Aurora, Colorado. Heritage Auctions, started out with coins and have expanded to so many other things, including purses and jewelry, but especially sports collectibles. Nobody better. I'm not saying they're the best, but I'm not aware of anybody better. Huggins and Scott, completely different auction experience, but a lot of fun nonetheless. I use both of those services. And then there's Topps, Panini, and Upper Deck, the major card companies who have the licenses in the four major sports. Today, my guest again is Rich Klein, longtime friend and colleague, and we're going to talk about 89-90 hoops basketball. Rich, we started a basketball magazine in 1990.
Just before I got down.
Before you got there, and it's partly because of this set and other heating up. Football heated up first. Basketball was right behind. So we'd started the football magazine. Then basketball was next, and then hockey, I think, was later on.
Correct. Hockey
shortly thereafter.
They're in about it was 6 month period.
Because basically there was just a tidal wave, a tsunami, and so the basketball magazine was necessary because there was enough of a dynamic element within collecting basketball cards, just like there had pretty much always been with baseball, but then football and then basketball. Because of before that time, it had been Topps in the old days, and then it was Star for a little while, and then when Fleer came back in 86, 87, that got things going. But it wasn't immediately hot. If I have stories about 86, 87 Fleer, stories that reflect poorly on me of not me seeing the bright future.
Every person has stories on 86, 87 Fleer of not buying the boxes at $10 a box.
Exactly. Well, I'm going to save my story for when we do that set, but I assure you my story is even worse than that. But 89-90 hoops brought the competitive element, which I like, of hoops was not against, but they were in the marketplace with another product that was not Fleer. Topps came in later, Skybox came in later, but hoops as the new kid needed to be better. They needed to get attention somehow.
And they did a great job, but they also caught a break in that David Robinson, because he had been drafted 2 years earlier, was eligible for a card because he was technically already a professional or could be considered a professional. And they showed him with his jersey like in a press conference, and he's in the packs. And it's the first time in a long time, I think since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, when he was known as Lou Alcindor, had a rookie card in his rookie year. And that just really exploded because Robinson came out like a lot of basketball players do. If you're really good, you'll be good as a rookie a lot of times. You don't have to develop 3 or 4 years in the major leagues. You're a superstar, you're usually a superstar immediately.
Well, he went to the Naval Academy, and so he had a term of service as an officer in the Navy. So he was a professional, but not a professional basketball player. But I guess he was released. Apparently he couldn't fit in the submarines.
Yeah, and the other thing is that also by that point, the armed services said, if you've got a guaranteed professional contract, we can reduce your 5-year commitment to 2 years. Roger Staubach is a 5-year commitment, and he honored the 5-year commitment. In today, Roger Staubach would only have to do a 2-year commitment.
Right.
And the funny thing is, we were just sitting talking as you were beginning. My first memory of 89-90 hoops was how you could see the cards through the wrapper. You could see the card. So if you had a David Robinson on the pack, you would actually see it. So you could say unopened pack, David Robinson on top or on bottom.
And it wasn't a particularly tough card.
No. It was number
I think
138.
138, you're right. And it just, why wasn't he in Fleer?
Probably because they were waiting for him to actually play. Remember, everybody else you'd play your season and then you do it. Hoops realized I think Hoops was the official card of the NBA the first year, and they probably had permission to do that. And Fleer may have had permission, but just said, like Topps did in '89.
Well, perhaps you're not a member of the Players Association until you play your first game. I don't know. But I don't remember that. Did they come out about the same time?
Yes, they did.
At the beginning of the season? Or?
Just remember, Pro Set has rookies in '89. Pro Set doesn't,
maybe that's it.
Score has rookies in '89. Topps doesn't have rookies in '89 until the traded set because they're not used to putting rookies in their rookie year in the set, and I suspect it was pretty similar for Fleer.
Do you feel like right at the beginning, the Hoops had, because it was brand new, it was the new kid that it immediately caught fire because Fleer had gotten complacent, perhaps?
Fleer had probably gotten a little bit complacent. They're doing several sets, but in addition to that, the Hoops design is a nice, simple, basic. Yeah. It's an attractive enough design. If I remember, it's like, a white, a player photo, a decent sized player photo within white borders. Your condition stays strong. It's got the Robinson card. They eventually produce a high number series. I think there's a Pistons card at the end of the set with an interesting variation.
Right.
They also cover a lot of the player moves, in the set. So did Fleer's, but then the high number set, I believe, has a bunch of Timberwolves in there and Orlando Magic players in there.
Well, if you're the official set of you want to make it more of a living set, but it also was a living set in the sense that the Robinson started getting counterfeited.
Isn't that amazing?
When did that happen? I mean, that's not the kind of living set we want.
That's almost immediate.
That was,
And
they're distinguishable.
They're very distinguishable.
If you just magnify it, you can see that it's a picture of a picture.
And if you remember, in those days, people were counterfeiting the new cards. You could count. I mean, some were better than others, but the Mattingly rookie, the Strawberry rookies, they were all heavily counterfeited. So that problem has thankfully gone away to a large extent on the new cards. Now you get a new card. I get a 2019 card. I don't worry about it being counterfeited anymore.
Well, it'd be a base card unless you're doing something very sophisticated and putting in some serial numbers, and then 89-90 Hoops was not followed by another winner. We'll talk about that another day, but it's amazing how some of these brands can get off the mark so well as 89-90 Hoops did with so many rookie cards because of the pent-up situation there. And then the next year they print just as many or more, and it doesn't do as well.
And that happens quite a bit.
That happens quite a bit.
1996-97 Topps Chrome basketball was, from what I heard, officially offered to dealers. The dealers didn't want it, so it ended up retail. And of course, they printed it in lesser quantity than you expect retail for a basketball product. So it became so popular, every hobby dealer then scooped it up. The next year, every hobby dealer and everybody wanted it, so they printed much more copies. And then, sure enough, the demand slackened. Plus, the rookie class was nowhere near as good as 96, 97, and that happened to Hoops too to some extent. They caught the hobby boom. They're printing more. Everybody wants it, and all of a sudden, well, everybody wants it, but the end users don't need it as much. There's no real excitement coming out of the low number packs like there were the previous year. The rookies were all done the previous year.
Well, so there was some wisdom in going after 89-90 Hoops. It was a brand new set, a brand new brand, the official card that had some distinction. One of the other things I'm remembering now is that the NBA or the Players Association or whoever was in charge there sent me some media cards. Do you remember those when they were patterned?
They're patterned after they did that for three.
Hoops.
They did that for about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, they did that for a few years, and I had some of those. I just had a sprinkling of them, but they're
really
it's
tough.
Ernie Johnson's rookie card.
They're
who's this iconic announcer now. But that's one of one of the cards I hold on to and really enjoy. But again, it was a hoops type thing, and I don't remember if it was 89 or 90. Maybe they started that in 90, but they and I think they gave them out to the announcers.
They do, and they're limited.
Craig Sager had a few.
Yep. My friend Ed Rendell in New York has some. I've got a couple that he sent me signed. They're really cool.
Right.
And he does Fans for the Cure, which is a nice charity organization using his contacts to raise money. I believe it's prostate cancer. But those cards have a price guide value, but they're legitimately price guide value because they're legitimately
tough.
They're legitimately tough cards.
Yeah, I mean, unless somebody showed up with a whole bunch of them, because generally with printing, you don't print one copy of something, but if you let the presses run and they're not distributed in an unusual way. No factory sets for $89.99.
No, in fact, I can't think that if anybody had a factory set, maybe until Topps did a factory set the first year. Yeah. I can't think of anybody who did a factory set, in terms of basketball for a long time. I think basketball never really had the same factory set cachet that baseball had, than football would have beginning in 87. I mean, I think there might have been a couple of years before that, but I know 87 was the first year of their major factory sets.
Well, you and I are purists. I think we like opening packs and the not knowing what you're going to get. And back in those days, without contrived scarcities, you could open a box and get, I suppose you could have a good chance at having
You'd have a good chance of getting a lot of the set. If you've got 10 cards in a 36 account pack and you've got 300 cards in the set, you might finish
close.
The set or be real close.
Yeah. Well, we're close to the end, Rich. We'll do another episode tomorrow or the next day. But thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We'll resume our conversation tomorrow. Thank you.